But before that, scientists are warning that a key river species could become extinct within the next decade unless action is taken. The white-clawed crayfish used to be found in plentiful supply in our waterways across the West Country, but now numbers are so low it's classed as endangered.
Well, a team from Bristol Zoological Society are working to boost numbers, and I joined them along a river in Somerset to find out more. This team of scientists are trying to save our native crayfish from extinction. Along this river in Somerset, they're on the hunt for females. So Jen, please tell me why we are walking through a river in the middle of Somerset.
Because we're here to save the white-clawed crayfish from extinction.
And it is that serious?
It is that serious, yes.
So what are we looking for?
So we're looking for females here with eggs. She's got her eggs, she's held them here over winter, and we're looking to basically find the females with the eggs, bring them back into Bristol Zoo hatchery, where we can rear and release the juveniles, get them big enough so that they can go back into the wild and basically start a new population.
The white-clawed crayfish is endangered. In the southwest, numbers have fallen by 70%. Their main threat is the invasive American signal crayfish. They carry a plague which can wipe out an entire population within 2 weeks. But this team of conservationists are fighting back and trying to reverse the decline.
It's incredible that these still exist in our waters, and we want to maintain these for future generations to enjoy and have the the benefits of these.
If you have crayfish, it means you've got a good river system. They're detritivores, so they eat lots of the leaf litter and they keep the river system running nice as well. And they're a good food for other animals, so yeah, they're really important.
The captured female crayfish are taken to Bristol Zoological Society's hatchery. In the wild, only around 5% of the eggs would survive. But here, conservationists can make sure all are hatched. The baby crayfish are kept in captivity for at least a year before being released back into the river. If work isn't done to save our crayfish, then they could be extinct within 10 years. And that would have a huge impact on our rivers.
If you think of an ecosystem as a big engine and every part of that is essential, if you remove one part of that engine, things start breaking and that engine will eventually stop working completely. You know, we're running out of native species that are basically part of our system here. So we do have a responsibility. We've caused this mess, so we need to sort it out for this species. We can't let it go extinct.
Work to release more white-clawed crayfish into our rivers has meant populations have doubled in the southwest. But the threat isn't over. Scientists say more needs to be done to save these creatures, which are so vital to our rivers and an essential part of our heritage. Well, here to talk more about this is presenter and conservationist Chris Packham. Chris, you've lent your support to this project to save our native crayfish. Why do you care so much about them?
Well, they're an intrinsically important part of the ecology of our freshwater rivers. You can't just take species out and forget about them. For those ecologies, those areas to be resilient and stable and sustainable, you need all the species living there that can live there. So that's one of the reasons why we like to put them back. The other thing is that it was our fault that they disappeared in the first place. We introduced the other species and the diseases that came with it, and now, most importantly of all, we know how to fix it. So fixing it is clearly the right thing to do.
And what can we do to help with their survival?
Well, I have to say biosecurity has become really important. Years ago, we used to sniff and snort if people ask us to clean the mud off of our boots before we went into a different watercourse. Now, we biologists and ecologists think nothing of that. So if you're out and about, maybe you're canoeing, maybe you're just paddling, as I am today, fishing for minnows, then make sure that you wash your boots off before you go to another area, because it's so easy now to transfer pathogens from one part of the country to another. So that is one thing. And then, of course, other issues are far more basic. Take your litter home, don't leave it in a mess, close gates behind you. Very often keeping stock, cattle, ponies, whatever it is, away from the banks is really important, because if they trample them, then all the mud goes into the river, silts it up, not ideal for crayfish. So there's a plethora of things to do. Just be careful is the key thing.
Yeah, great advice. But it's not just about saving the species for science and conservation, but it's also part of our heritage, isn't it?
Well, certainly part of mine. I mean, I remember paddling in the chalk streams here in Hampshire as a child, turning over stones, and there were crayfish underneath them, and we used to sort of scrabble to catch them. It was a fun part of growing up. Sadly, most of those streams where I was paddling, there are no crayfish left at all now. They're denuded of that. And I don't like the idea that there could be young people out there now in their wellies, you know, with the water going over the top, of course, and staying way later than their mum told them they could, looking for those crayfish and they can't find them. We want a rich repository of life for people to be able to engage with, and crayfish are a charismatic part of that. And I think sometimes we turn our noses up at crustaceans. We think they might be a bit creepy and crawly, but if you look at a crayfish close up, as I know you have, they're very, very beautiful animals too.
Yeah, they certainly are. But it's not just crayfish, is it? It's our other native wildlife that also need help.
Plenty of our native wildlife is in trouble. We're in the midst of a biodiversity crisis. We live in one of the most nature-denuded parts of the world. Many of our principal habitats are in decline. Many of our favourite species are in danger of extinction. You only need to think about turtle doves if you're a bird watcher, or hedgehogs if you're a mammal lover. You know, the key thing I've got to tell you is, though, that we do have the means to restore their numbers, repair their environments, or even reintroduce them, as we do with the crayfish. We've got a toolkit of abilities to fix the problem. We just need to roll them out far more broadly and far more rapidly.
OK, Chris Packham, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.